Good day everyone, I'm Ethan, moderator for this webinar. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, Management Skills for New Managers. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Chris Divney. Chris Divney is the founder and president of Pinnacle Performance Improvement Worldwide. He has published numerous articles in the fields of surviving mergers and acquisitions, surviving change, project management, sales, team building, leadership, ethics, customer service, diversity, and work-life balance. He has appeared hundreds of times on radio and television interview programs to discuss mergers and acquisitions. Krish is one of the best award-winning Toastmasters international competitor speaker. Krish holds degrees in management studies and organizational behavior from Boston University. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Ethan, and welcome everyone. So glad you could join us today as we explore management skills for new managers. As Ethan had just mentioned, before starting Pinnacle in 1994, I worked as a manager in three different organizations: Prudential Insurance, Sprint, and Baybank, which has for many years been a part of Bank of America. So here we go. Let's take a look. What do we want to address today? We want to help you to understand how to approach an intact team as their new supervisor, and also, frankly, how to approach your team every time. Also, to help you to develop your own management game plan, to motivate your direct reports, coach for improved performance. In addition, we'll help you to think and act strategically, better plan and prioritize your time, to handle difficult conversations, especially those conversations that we have to have, quite unpleasant, with people who are underperforming. Also, to help you to listen more actively and effectively, to create a motivational environment using constructive feedback and positive reinforcement to help motivate and guide your people's behavior. In addition, we'll help you to manage up to your entire team remotely, especially for the first time. So these core objectives you're looking at now have been around for a while, but became much more prevalent with the onset of the pandemic. Managing up to your entire team remotely, especially for the first time, to help you to boost productivity at every location, significantly cut down on emails and individual phone calls, shifting instead to conference calls, Zoom calls, Teams meeting calls. Also, how to know that team members are following rules, implementing proper policies and procedures, even though they may be in 5, 10, 15 or more different locations, as well as how we can spot problems even when we are far away. What's our number one job as anyone's manager? Frankly, as everyone's manager, is to provide each and every one of our direct reports with as much support as we possibly can to help each and every one of them perform at the highest level possible. To slow down emails and phone calls and instead shift over to conference calls, Zoom calls, and Teams meetings. And finally, let's be sure that we distribute the meeting minutes immediately so everyone gets a copy. Next, how can we create crystal clear procedures that team members will follow to the letter? Next, how can we quickly smooth things over when we have to lay down the law and enforce an unpopular policy, especially from a distance? What are the actions we need to take to slow down the email and phone call blizzard? Systematic steps, systematic processes. That is the key that we share with everyone on our team, so that every one of us on the team, no matter where we're located, are following the same steps and the same processes. So the steps for communicating. So what we'll focus on next are steps we can take to stay in touch and control no matter what. Now, what responsibilities do we need to shoulder alone as managers, And when can we safely share the load with team members? What's a common but deadly management mistake that will ensure a team member will never trust your motives? How can we determine some of the faster ways to try to get a poorly performing team member up to speed? Let's take a look at some measures we can take to establish quality-minded teams that we can rely on. We look at all activities. All activities fall into one of four categories. There are some activities which are of high importance and high urgency. We call these quadrant 1, and these must be done now or else there will be both immediate and severe consequences. Then we have activities which are of high importance but not urgent. We call these quadrant 2, and the consequences for not doing these are severe. Then there's quadrant 3, a task which is urgent to someone else, but truly not important to you. We call these quadrant 3, and they grab at our attention, but are not actually as important as they feel. And finally, quadrant 4, not urgent, not important. These are the things we do when we really should be doing something else. So we've covered these learning objectives so far. Now we're going to focus on 4 more objectives. Our agenda in this part of our webinar today includes changes and choices, tools and rules, prioritizing and planning, and moving towards true effectiveness. Time management skills hierarchy. I share with you the quote from noted time management expert Ed Bliss, who once wrote that effective people begin not with their work, but with their time. Here we're going to look at changes and choices, and the guiding principle for this section is that the why will get you through any how. How do you make your choices? The 4 stages of habit change, and tools and rules that will help us to manage our time. There are 6 sets of skills that we need to constantly hone, refine, and improve in order to become better and better organized. What is time charging? Well, time charging is where we write activities in a place our mind trusts that action will be taken at the appropriate time. What activity needs to be done? When does it need to occur? And where is the necessary information stored? Now let's start looking at how we can effectively prioritize and plan. Urgency and importance. Important, defined as marked by or indicative of significant worth or consequence, and valuable in content or relationship. Urgent, defined as calling for immediate attention or addressing insistently. Urgent and important, quadrant 1. Look how significant these activities are. Important but not urgent. Then quadrant 3. Urgent to someone else but not really important to you. Then quadrant 4. Not urgent, not important. So how will we use our time more effectively using important and urgent? This is where most of our time management problems come. When we prioritize, let's sort things out using a system of A's and B's. When we prioritize, let's use the 80-20 rule. When prioritizing action items, look for the top 20% that will produce the greatest payoff. Do those first. When we handle tasks, let's use a flow chart and let's look at 3 tasks. That's the most effective use of our time. Now let's prioritize our to-do list. So for planning our day, I'd like to suggest we dedicate 3 2-minute time blocks. So what steps will we take to effectively prioritize? Here are the 9 most popular answers we get to that question. In planning our day, here are the steps. Our goals have to be SMART. Our goals have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-charged. So now let's move towards being truly effective. The guiding principle here is that doing things faster is no substitute for doing the right things. You see, it's efficient to do things right. It's effective to do the right things right. Operationalizing our goals, making our goals, developing a plan. We also go by the abbreviation of OPICS. What we're also talking about is taking a goal and making it happen, making it a reality, or TOPS. The T stands for tasks. Now for planning our week, let's review our roles. What's the bottom line? Well, let's communicate our goals and objectives clearly, so we can manage up to our entire team remotely. Let's help support our team members' performance by staying in touch and control no matter what. Let's also hone and refine our long-distance facilitation skills so we can establish quality-minded teams that we can rely on. And finally, let's provide rewards and incentives that people value, continue communicating effectively and regularly.
Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. You all have a great day ahead. Bye-bye. Take care.